JL7042. The flight from Hong Kong to Tokyo. This was my first time on a plane, yet I wasn't as excited as I had imagined I would be. I closed my eyes, hoping that I could fall asleep until landing. After a while, the plane encountered some turbulence. My face tightened a little, not because I was scared, but because I was annoyed that it had disrupted my dream. How dare! I was dreaming of Carlos. In the dream, we finally got to see each other again. It was late at night, even though we had not seen each other for such a long time, neither of us said anything. It was so dark that I couldn't even see what he looked like as a grown-up. His lips moved and he was about to say something, but suddenly the ground beneath us morphed into an enormous wave and swept me away. I opened my eyes. The boy next to me handed me one of his earbuds. He probably thought I was afraid. Some tender music was flowing out of the earbud. I smiled at him with gratitude. He had short and curly dark hair. He looked like he was about 18 years old. Carlos would have been around the same age now. I fell asleep again, although I didn't go back to the same dream this time. 4 hours later, at the front desk of the Prince Hotel in Yes, I was checking in. Coincidentally, I ran into the boy who was next to me on the plane. Also, coincidentally, his room was right next to mine. He said his name was Lin Wei. He was here on a trip by himself and suggested that we could travel together if it was okay with me. I agreed, but I would have to wait until after I finished my business here. The sun was about to set when he knocked on my door. He told me that he had rented a car and asked if I would like to go take a ride with him along the beach. I said yes. His eyes were a little red and we didn't say anything to each other on the way. He didn't go directly to the beach. Instead, he circled around this and a couple of times at first. If he weren't so upset, I would have almost suspected that he had figured out who I really was. I never knew that the target this time was still a kid. Half an hour ago, I had received an instruction from Ray. The target this time was the person staying in the room next to mine. Lin Wei. He was the only child of the boss of Lin Inc., who ran the Black Dragon gang. Whenever Ray gave me an assignment, I never questioned the reason. Although this time, I didn't really need to ask. The big boss of Lin was in his final years. Some elders in the corporation had brought up the idea of looking for a successor. Obviously, the big boss wanted his own son to succeed him, and everybody knew it. But I knew Ray too well. He wanted to be the successor himself. The gang had plenty of enemies in the criminal underworld. This time, Lin Wei was traveling to Japan alone without any bodyguards. It meant that this would be the perfect opportunity for Ray to take him out of the equation. It was quite windy by the ocean. There were a couple of tourists hanging around on the beach. I planned to complete the assignment once they left. Lin Wei stood there, facing the ocean. He closed his eyes and spread his arms. He looked like a bird who was about to ride the wind and fly into the sky, and all of a sudden he yelled, "I'm the king of the world, what the fuck is going on?" Miss, have you ever thought about what we live for in this world? I fixed my hair that was flying in the wind. For me, simply being able to live is good enough. I never thought about something so deep. Lin Wei kept his posture. Well, do you have an important person in your life? I do. I looked at the ocean. He put his arms down. What would you do if you couldn't be with that person? I'd wait. He looked back at me. His face was covered in tears. What if you know that you'll only be waiting for nothing? I suddenly realized that I had never thought about this possibility. Miss, I know what you're doing here. I've seen many other people like you. Lin Wei unbuttoned his shirt and revealed the numerous horrifying scars on his body. In 2 years, my father will hand the company to me. Miss, you of all people should know how many people want me dead. All of these years, my only wish has been to be with that person on my birthday. I was born in the winter near Christmas. I would always dream about the two of us decorating our own Christmas tree, walking along the festive streets and holding hands like a real couple. But year after year, I could never make it happen. And I'll never be able to make it happen in the future. I will not let the person I love get hurt because of me. So I can't be with that person, not in this life. I'm tired of a life like this. The last tourist had just left the beach. He gave me one last smile and started walking into the ocean. The water gradually went over his waist, his shoulder. A few minutes later, I dived into the ocean. If anyone was gonna kill him, it would have to be me. I grabbed his hand. I gasped for the salt-tasting air, feeling like I was going to be swallowed by the crushing waves at the very next moment. I lay there on the beach. I was completely wet. Lin Wei was lying next to me. Why didn't you just let me die? Isn't that your mission? Why? I didn't know. Perhaps I was hoping there would be another possibility for him. It had been 10 days. I still didn't have a strategy to help him. Although I worked for Ray, I didn't really have all of the information in the organization. Even in the gang, not a lot of people were aware of my existence, therefore I didn't have any useful connections. I was sitting on the couch in my room. A bunch of empty candy boxes were piling up next to my hand. Lin Wei must be an extremely important target to Ray. Letting Lin go meant that I had betrayed him. I might have made the stupidest decision of my life just out of that one moment of sympathy. I heard footsteps in the hallway outside. The person was intentionally keeping them light, so I knew instantly that it couldn't be a regular tenant. My 4 years of training told me immediately that it was someone like me, and he or she was good at this job too. Ray surely wouldn't show me any mercy. Alicia. Okie dokie. Let's get to work here. This? I don't know. I have no clue. Lin Wen was right. I had the blood of over a dozen people on my hands. If I were to be with Carlos, I would bring him nothing but misery. The surface was almost pitch black, beneath which hid many invisible but violent torrents. The water was also much colder than I expected, and I could feel the chill in my bones. Lin Wei grabbed my hand, and he was guiding me ahead. I suddenly understood. Heavenly Father was giving me a chance for redemption right here, right now. We held our hands together and disappeared into the... Oh, that's not a good way to... That's not what I was hoping for. So what if you do this last? That's also bad. But what if you grabbed his hands and then he smiled at you? See, now we're doing things here. The hairdryer was buzzing. I was sitting in my hotel room, drying my hair with my eyes closed. I was afraid. I was afraid that I would see myself in the foggy mirror and that I wouldn't even recognize my own reflection. The moment when Lin Wei had disappeared into the ocean, for a second I thought it wasn't Lin who was floating away from me, but Carlos. I wanted to swim towards him. But what if I had saved him? What else could I do for him? And how would I report back to Ray? The thought dissipated almost instantly. In the end, I followed my original plan. I came back to the bench, at another spot, and took a taxi back to the hotel. This is gonna be like a B rank. The same evening, I told Ray about Lin Wei's final moments, but his response surprised me. Starting from tomorrow, you're free. Never mind, there we go. Hello, got new mail. The cafe across the street and the guest with a beard. Okie dokie. Yeah. I opened my eyes. I saw a white ceiling. I saw white walls. I saw white blankets and beds, and I could smell the strong odor of detergent. How did I end up in the hospital? It was very late. There was no one in the hallway. I found the nurse station and asked for my record. It said I had gastritis. I never knew gastritis could make someone pass out. The nurse told me that I was mostly fine. I just needed to take my medication for a couple of more days. But it was already too late to be discharged today, so I had to wait until tomorrow. She also mentioned that it was a middle-aged man who had brought me in. A middle-aged man? Could it be him? Probably not. There were plenty of middle-aged men out there. Since I was mostly fine, I decided to go home anyway. I couldn't stand the sight of the hospital for one more minute. I had too many bad memories from being in a hospital. A young man was standing at the hospital entrance looking down at the ground. Maybe he was feeling down because a family member had been sick too. What do I know? I walked towards the subway station at the last crossing. The lights had just turned from green to red. I saw two people sitting next to the window in the coffee house across the street. Two very familiar people. Miss Yang and him. I stepped forward without even realizing it. I had forgotten about the red light. A truck charged directly at me from the side. Its headlights had blinded me. My entire body was swallowed by the light. The truck didn't stop after hitting me. I'd been left lying in the street when someone found me. It happened to be the same young man who had been standing in front of the hospital earlier. I was brought back into the hospital, but this time I wasn't mostly fine. I probably would not survive the night. I realized that I had so many regrets. Why couldn't I tell him how I truly felt? Why would I always have to be torn apart from the most important people in my life? Lee Wen. Okie dokie. 9 a.m. It was the least busy hour of the day in the coffee shop. I was wiping the glass carefully with a cleaning cloth. Mama, who loved me and happily shared his feminine side, was sitting next to the bar and perusing a women's fashion magazine while occasionally letting out a yawn. There was also a customer in a strange hat that had been here since we opened this morning. He put out his 8 cigarettes in the ashtray, put down an adult magazine that he had brought with him, left his booth and went into the guest room. There was no one else in the shop but the 3 of us. I'd left Ray half a month ago. I didn't know where else to go, so I came back to Maple House. It still had the same decorations, but not the same people. Raj had gone back to India. Hang had become a legal resident and got married. On my first day back, I had told Mama everything about being auctioned off and abused, but I left out everything related to Ray. Mama was crying so hard that his entire face was wet. He hugged me so tight and told me of course I could come back and I could stay here for as long as I wanted to. I tried to get back to a normal life. I wanted to save up a little more money so that I could bring Carlos over to live with me. Ring ring, a middle-aged man with a thick beard had just walked in. I was carrying a glass pitcher of water when I accidentally bumped into him at the door. Water spilled everywhere. I caught the pitcher 20 centimeters off the ground before it got smashed into pieces. He was carrying an umbrella, which was very convenient because that shielded him from all the water I was spilling with a long handle. It was raining heavily outside. My clothes were soaking wet. Water had spilled onto my clothes. The black dragon tattoo on my stomach became vaguely visible through my wet shirt. I apologized and turned around to go to the back room so that I could change into another shirt. I'm in a hurry! I heard something else hidden inside his 4 short words. It was an extremely familiar sense of menace. Then I noticed his umbrella out of the corner of my eyes. I didn't suspect anything earlier because of the rain. But now I realized that his umbrella was completely dry. I ducked down and sprinted to the kitchen. Multiple deafening gunshots erupted behind me. The meticulously painted walls were littered with holes from the shotgun. I dragged Mama into the kitchen. His fake eyelashes had fallen off. There was nothing but a bloody hole where his left eyeball was supposed to be. His and my blood was spreading all over the kitchen floor. Suddenly, I heard a flush come from the restroom outside and nothing else. He was so confident that he wouldn't even bother coming in to make sure that we were dead. The bearded man must be coming after me. He couldn't be here for any other reason but revenge. I had made a mistake. I should not have come back. I should not have expected to lead a normal life. My mind was becoming cloudy. Mama, I'm so sorry. It was my fault. Well, let's see if we can do something about it. Okay, so we got nothing on your side. Let's see here. What if we do this? Because then, okay, let's try to actually reason so that I show that I actually have some thoughts behind all of this and I'm not just fucking like willy-nilly. If it's not raining and he's coming in with an umbrella, it's gonna stand out much more. So she will notice that something is wrong up front over here. So that's good. Over here, if it's raining outside, maybe the truck is like, I'm not gonna drive today. I'm just gonna get my truck all wet and clean. I don't want that. I apologized to the guest who had just come in, showed him to a booth and poured him a cup of coffee. Then I went back to the door and started cleaning the wet floor. I heard a flush come from the restroom. The guest with the hat walked out. He walked past the new guest's booth and went back to his own. He took a 9th cigarette out of his pack and put it into his mouth. Then I noticed a flame pop up near the end of the cigarette. I walked over leaned over and refilled his mug. I whispered into his ear, "We've been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty." Excuse me, but this is a non-smoking establishment? If he were a fellow hitman, he would have understood. The guest with the hat heard my words, nodded gently, and put the cigarette back into the pack. But if he's on his 9th... The menace that had been brewing in the air suddenly dissipated. The bearded man kept glancing over at us the entire time. He wasn't a regular guest either. The dagger under my skirt was ready to be unsheathed. Our eyes met. Then I saw him raising his right hand with the umbrella which had been hanging from the table earlier. He pointed it at the guest with the hat and me. I'd never suspected that the umbrella would be his weapon. I tried to take away the rain so you would think that. The guest, if the cigarette pack is also a weapon, then I'm gonna get scared. The guest with the hat reached for his cigarette pack, but it was already too late. Okay. Painted bloody maroon. I was drenched in sweat because of the nightmares. Well, now that my clothes were already wet, I decided to just go home in the rain. I walked into the heavy rain towards the subway station. At the last crossing, the lights had turned from green to red. I saw in the coffee shop, familiar people, Mr. Yang and him. Headlights blinding, swallowed by the light, hitting you. Okay, so that didn't... The rain was so heavy that everything around me seemed blurry. I could feel the warmth of my body washing away with the rain. It was getting... Okay, well, this is gonna be bad for both of them. Whoops. And it's her birthday? Oh, the day of the exhibition was her birthday. Go see the rainbow in the mountains with you. It must be so beautiful. Too bad I probably can't make it anymore. I want to leave you everything I have in my apartment. There are still many boxes of chocolate milk. Don't let them go bad, please. I really like your sketch. I was only kidding last time. And The phone fell out of my hand, and it kept recording the sound of the rainfall. Yeah! That's how we do a double bad. So what if? What if this? What if... Ooh. Wait. Yeah, what if this? Wait, why does that only change on her side? Oh well. I apologized to the guest, showed him the booth and cup, of course, for cleaning the floor, in the flush, in the restroom. He walked past and sat down. He took a cigarette. This is all the same. I whispered into his ear. Fellow hitman, nodded. The man is with this. It wasn't a regular cigarette. There were probably some elaborate mechanism inside. I myself had never used gadgets that were too complicated. I did sometimes hear that some fellow workers in my field would often use some unusual murder weapons that I had never even heard of. He probably wasn't here for me. But if he had insisted upon messing up the shop, the dagger under my skirt would have to stop him. The bearded man put down some cash on the table and left. Soon the guest with the hat gathered his cigarette pack and adult magazine, gave me a nod and left too. This is probably gonna be an S rank, but over there is not so good. I soon noticed that I was being followed for the next few days. There was more than one tail on me, and none of them was just some random slob. I couldn't tell if it had anything to do with the guest from that day. I asked Mama for some time off and decided to stay out of sight alone for a while. At the very least, I could not bring Mama into this. So this is an S. This is a B? How the frickadick am I gonna solve this? So this, and this. What if this? No. What if this? No. I mean, this is gonna do something, but I hardly see how this is an S rank for either of them. Was built, the black tattoo. Yeah, because I don't want the tattoo to be visible, because then she's outed, right? Wait. I apologized, then went and changed into another shirt in the back room. When I came back to both the bearded man and the guest with the hat had left. And she's still being followed. Are you going to the subway station? I nodded. Let me walk you there. I've got an umbrella. He showed me the umbrella in his hand and squeezed out an unnatural smile. We stood on the platform silently waiting for the last train of the day. We are in the rain waiting for a train. What's not working is my brain. Another young couple was here too. The headlights of the train lit up the tunnel. I was looking at the train and didn't notice what was happening behind me. When I heard the young couple scream, the young man who had walked me here had already laid down on the rails. The train kept running as if he wasn't even there. I only heard a muffled noise drowned out by the wind. But this is not gonna do anything. Yeah, that's bad for all of them. Okay. I'm gonna have to go process of elimination now because I can't figure this one out. What if, so blank, that's bad for her. What if your clothing was soaking wet? That's bad for you, okay. What if it was just raining heavily outside? That is doing something for anyone. Hopefully it's good. I went back to the room and hid under the blanket. Oh! Even with my eyes closed, the detergent smell still kept reminding me of where I was. I still couldn't escape those memories. In my earliest memories, my father was the only person that I could picture in my mind. He was a great painter because every painting of his was great. As far as I could remember, he had always lived in a big house. It was so big that sometimes I couldn't even find my father. When I was in elementary school, we had moved into an apartment. Father and I would often play with each other in the evenings by throwing pillows. When I was in middle school, we had moved into a single-room studio. Most of the space was occupied by his paintings. A few pieces of furniture sat in the rest of the room. We would sleep on the floor when it was bedtime. The place was so small, and many mornings I would wake up and realize that I had crawled into my father's bed in the middle of the night. Life wasn't easy, but I was happy. Father began to take on more and more assignments, most of which were not in his style. He would also set up a booth on the street to paint portraits of the pedestrians. Sometimes I would fall asleep even before he even returned home. We lived like this for 2 more years. Then, at some point, I couldn't remember, Father started drinking. He spent more and more time inside and less time smiling. He would often tear up his own paintings too. On that day, Father woke up early in the morning to watch a tennis game while he drank. Empty beer cans were all over the table. His stomach hadn't been doing great in the first place. The excessive drinking was not helping. I had a huge fight with him. I had never been angrier in my life, and I had never seen Father so mad either. Still, whatever he had done to me, I should not have said what I said. I hate you, Father. Those ended up being the last words I ever said to him. When I came home from school that day... Oh no, I think I know where this is going. I found the TV on the same channel as it was in the morning. A commercial was on. There were paints all over the floor. And Father was lying in the middle of them, motionless. I was standing in the corner of the emergency room when I watched them cover his face with a piece of white cloth. They said that there was no need for further medical assistance. Death felt so unreal to me at the time. Wasn't able to process any of it. I sat on a hospital bench in complete silence for a long time until a doctor crouched down in front of me and softly said my name. I finally cried. I cried my heart out. I love you, Father. But he couldn't hear it anymore. I woke up and I couldn't tell where I had been in my memories. The boundaries between nightmare and reality had been blurred by my tears. I sat up in the hospital bed, sobbing uncontrollably. If only everything had just been a nightmare. A wrinkled blue jacket that smelled like paint was placed softly over my shoulders. He had come in without me knowing it. He didn't say anything, just quietly put his arms around me. We sat there like this until the sun came out. Water had spilled on my clothes, back to with this and with shirt, about to apologize, with an umbrella in his hand. Oh, so now you notice it? What about the day when I took away the rain? You weren't like an umbrella. That seems weird, but now... But fine. I was about to apologize when... Wait, I actually did take away the rain here. Ah, okay. Something was not right. It was a sunny day outside. He was here for me. I jumped behind the bar, pulling out the gun Mama had hidden underneath. Multiple deafening shots with the bar. The meticulously painted walls were littered with holes made by a shotgun. Mama was hunched over his magazines and his fake eye... Aww. Piss. Sweat, tears, blood, and my makeup was smeared all over my face. Suddenly I heard a flush come from the restroom, where it went through the forehead of the bearded man before my bullet could. The thread morphed into a needle and pinned itself on the daily special menu on the wall. The guest with a hat walked gracefully out of the restroom, as if nothing had happened, with an unlit cigarette in his mouth. Is it a blow dart? He gathered his adult magazine and left, but he left a business card on the table. It had a simple design, but unusual contact information on it. A few words were printed in bold on the thin white card. Suko, assassin, for business, text this. And I guess that does it. Ah, but Mama is not okay. Oh, and we even got a star for it. Did I get a star with the other one too? I did? Well. Dear Christ! What are we gonna do in the next one? Just conclude every story? What? There's like 5 letters? Oh, well, in that case, I better leave it here and gather up some energy for the next one, because that seems like there's a lot to do. For now, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in the next one. Alright, I'm out.